Okay, we're going to go over page 332 and 333. This is in your instruction iReady math book. So the last lesson that you did, you were learning about how to look for attributes or properties or rules of shapes, such as how many sides and angles it has, how many sides are all the same length, how many right angles or square corners it has, or how many parallel sides. So now we're going to use those attributes to help us identify these shapes. On page 332, this is lesson 31, guided instruction. It says, let's explore the idea. You can compare shapes and put them in groups. The groups tell how the shapes are alike. Use the two red shapes to answer problems 2 through 5. Okay, so we're thinking about those attributes that we learned from the previous lesson. Let's look at number 2. Number 2 says, which of the shapes shown has at least one square corner? And I would like for you to change that word square corner to right angle. So remember to decide if a shape has a right angle. You can use a index card, is fabulous because it's a little more supported, or a corner of a piece of paper, or something that you know has that perfect square corner. So I'm going to take this piece of paper that I have here, and I'm going to actually use this square corner on my paper and slide it into these angles that I think. So let's start this triangle. Does that square corner fit? Yes. So I can see the triangle has at least one square corner. What about this rectangle? You see how there's a red line on both sides and it fits and they're perfect? So the rectangle also has at least one square corner. So on number 2, we're going to want to write triangle and the rectangle. Both of these shapes have at least one square corner. Number 3, which of the shapes shown has all square corners? Well, let's go back to this triangle. We know it has one square corner. What about this other angle? Is that a square corner? No, it's not. So the triangle does not have all square corners. But let's look at the rectangle. That will fit. That will fit. Try one more. That fits, and we already know that bottom one fits. So the only shape that has all right angles is, of course, the rectangle. So number 3, we're going to put rectangle. Number 4 says, still looking at these two shapes, which of the shapes shown has some sides that are the same length? Now, I don't have a ruler with me here, but you could take a ruler, or you can use, I could go back to this piece of paper and I could use it to help me measure my sides. So all I would have to do is lay it down and put a mark where the end of that triangle side goes. See how it's bending there? So I'm going to make a mark there. And that's going to be my measuring point since I do not have a ruler. Now I'm going to check this bottom corner to see if it matches. You see how that's the same length? It goes right to the mark. So, but what about this one? That one's longer, isn't it? So the triangle has at least 2 sides that are the same length. So I can put triangle here. What about that rectangle? Yeah. These 2 sides are exactly the same, and the top 2 sides are exactly the same. So the rectangle also. So on number 4, we would say the triangle and the rectangle both have some sides that are the same length. Let's look at number 5. Which of the shapes shown has opposite sides that are the same length? Well, a triangle wouldn't have opposite sides, would it? Because it only has 3 sides. What about a rectangle? Remember, opposite means across. Do you see how the top and the bottom are exactly the same? Then the left and the right are exactly the same. So number 5, it would be a rectangle. The rectangle has opposite sides that are the same length. Okay, so once again, 2, 3, 4 and 5, you should have triangle and rectangle on number 2, rectangle on number 3, triangle and rectangle on number 4, and just the rectangle on number 5. All right, let's look at the bottom. You can name shapes that belong to a group. You can also name shapes that don't belong to the group. Use the 2 blue shapes to answer problems 6 through 8. Number 6. So we have a rhombus, that word is rhombus, and another triangle, but it's a different triangle this time. Number 6 says, which of the shapes shown belongs to the group all sides are the same length? Which one of those shapes would every side be the same length? And again, you could take your paper and actually measure those sides to see if they are indeed all the same length, and they are. So only the rhombus has all sides the same length. Which of the shapes shown does not belong to this group? Well, if a rhombus does have all sides the same length, then a triangle would not. That particular triangle does not. Now, some triangles do have, but this triangle that they drew, and that's the one we have to look at, does not have all sides the same length. Only the rhombus does. Number 7. Which of the shapes shown belongs to the group all sides are different lengths? Well, we know the answer to that one, don't we? Yeah, the triangle. The rhombus had all sides the same length. The triangle, none of the sides are the same length. Which of the shapes does not belong? Well, if the triangle does belong, then of course the rhombus would not. Number 8, name a different group that both the triangle and the rhombus belong to. What have we learned and put in our interactive notebook that both of these shapes would belong to? They're both polygons. Remember, polygons, because polygons have straight sides and polygons cannot have any openings. And both of those shapes have straight sides with no openings, so we could put them in the polygon group. Y'all think of anything else? One thing that we wrote at the top that we have not wrote down here is about the right angles or the square corners. Do either one of those shapes have a square corner? No right angles, because we could also say that both the rhombus and the triangle do not have right angles. So once again, rhombus should go here, then triangle, then rhombus, and then you can put polygons, P-O-L-Y-G-O-N-S, and you can also put no right angles, and that would fit for both shapes. All right, page 333. Let's talk about it. Look at the 2 triangles shown on the previous page. Draw one triangle in each box below. Describe the sides and angles of each triangle as many ways as you can. So I'm going to go to my notebook paper. You can draw yours on here. I'm going to go back to the triangle. So here is the red triangle at the top. I'm going to try to draw it the best of my ability. And the blue triangle at the bottom. Looks a little different. Well, not perfect, but that's the way I drew them. So we're going to go with this. Pretend that's perfect. I will, of course, be using the ones in the book since my drawings are not great. I don't have my ruler. All right, so I've drawn this one in the first box and this one in my second box. It says, describe the sides and angles of each triangle as many ways you can. All right, so let's talk about the sides. So looking back, not at my shape, but looking back at this red triangle, we notice that it has 3 sides, 3 angles. We can see it has 1 right angle. That goes right here. I like to box that out. 2 sides are the same length. Two sides are the same length. You see anything else? I think that covers it pretty good. Let's look at the blue one. Also has 3 sides. Also has 3 angles. Does it have any right angles? No. So no right angles. Are any of the sides the same length? No. No equal length sides. Think of anything else? You could have wrote every side's different lengths. That would be okay too. All right, number 10, describe the 2 groups that both triangles belong to. Well, they both have 3 sides. They both have 3 angles. So what group would they belong to? They would belong to a triangle group, right? So number 10, we will put both are triangles. Both are triangles with 3 sides. We want to put that attribute and 3 angles. They're both triangles with 3 sides and 3 angles. That would be the only thing that they share. Both are triangles with 3 sides and 3 angles. Okay, number 11 says another way that you can describe shapes, and we're going to do one of these in our interactive notebook, is using a Venn diagram. Now, a Venn diagram is just a type of graph that helps us organize things that are alike and things that are the same. So a Venn diagram helps you to sort things into groups. Shapes that belong in different groups go in the left or right part of the Venn diagram. Shapes that belong in both groups go in the middle part. Draw a shape to match each description. So let me draw my Venn diagram. Now, do you see how the 2 circles overlap in the middle? This is where you put what they both have, what's similar for both, okay? Then these 2 sides that do not connect are how they're different. So it says some square corners. Well, that could be rectangle, a square. It could be a triangle with a square corner. And then on the other side it says some sides are the same length. In the middle, we want them both to have some square corners and some sides the same length. Now, there's lots of shapes that we could draw in here, so I'll let you pick. It says some square corners, so I'm going to draw a square here, because a square would have some square corners, right angles, right? Now you could draw a rectangle, you could draw a triangle that has a square corner. There's lots you could draw. Some sides are the same length. I'm going to draw a rhombus here. Try to make them look like they have the same. And then in the middle, some square corners and some sides. All right, I'm going to draw a pentagon in here. Make sure that these 2 sides are the same length. And of course, there's my square corners in there. So this shape has both equal sides, at least 2 of them. And it also has square corners. This one only has the square corners, and this one has no square corners, but every side's the same length. Now again, there's other things you could draw in there, just as long as you match those rules. Okay, now you're going to work page 351. Tear that out, and 352, that's red pages out of your practice and problem solving iReady math book, and you'll turn that in to me. Something you can practice at home. If you have pattern blocks, you could use those with sticky notes to practice finding those angles and sorting them. You could also draw you some shapes and practice sorting them by attributes. I will actually send home with you guys a paper that has some shapes for you to cut out. Looks like this. And what I want you to do is cut those shapes out and then start sorting them by how many sides they have or what their angles look like. Do they have any right angles or no right angles? Are all the sides the same length? Are the 2 of the sides the same length? and just practice sorting and finding those attributes of those shapes. So this is coming home with you for you to cut out and practice.